we are going to learn about map, filter, and find functions that we use on arrays. Okay, so we are going to create an array today, and then we'll apply these functions and see how we can use them into our program. All right. So let's go ahead and so I have an index.js file and I am trying to make a component called map. So this is the map component that I'm going to create. So let's see. The component name is map. And now in this component, I'm going to create an array. Okay. Constant array equals I'm creating uh, say rice, wheat, and sugar. These three items I have created and stored in an array. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to create a component to print these items one by one, and for that we will be using map function. All right. So let me give a fragment here, ul, unordered list, and inside that you can use you can call map function like this arr dot map. In the map I have to give the a variable which will take place or which will store each and every items one by one. So arrays will be having all the items, and this item is another variable which will loop through, and each time the value of item will be rice and then wheat and then sugar and so on. That is how we loop through an array. Okay. All right. So now array dot map, and then there's a block of statement here. Okay. Now inside this, I want to loop through each and every item. Okay. So this is the syntax of map function, and map function means inside this again we are having a callback item, and then if I want to print each and every item I can use an html tag, for example li, and then inside the tag in the curly braces I can just give item. Now it is going to print this item in a list. Right? This is how we use map function to loop through an array and perform whatever action we want to perform. So in this case, I just wanted to loop through each and every item and just print it. That is why I've used li tag and then list tag and then given an item variable over here, which will the value of this item will be changing in every loop. Okay. So now if I want to run this, let me show you in a browser. Okay, so I have this, and then this is my browser. Okay, so let me open this app, localhost 1000. You see, I get this item listed over here. So that's because of the map function that we used. So this is how we can iterate over an array and then display the values one by one. All right. Now this, so in this case, the array only had, these items. Now we can also have arrays that will contain objects. Okay. So which is what we will have to focus more today. That how to loop through an array of objects. So when I talk about objects, let's see the other example. So instead of having this rice, wheat, sugar, I can have a set of objects, something like this. So I can have, let's say, ID colon 1, and can have name colon John, and I can have marks, let's say 40, 45. So this is one object which is in that array. I'm going to create another object which will be the second object of the array. I can give the curly brackets and two. We name 30, and then I'm giving marks, let's say 67, and then creating another item 83 name colon Mike, and then marks comma 89. So now this is also an array, but it has no objects in it. So it has three objects, um, which we want to, loop through and print on our screen. Okay. So now for that, what we can do, so array dot map item. Okay, now here, since this is an object, I cannot just simply print item. So item is what? It will loop through each and every element. So item, first time item will be the entire object. Second time the item will be the second object, which will have name, ID, and marks. So instead of giving item, I have to print the particular element. I can give item dot ID. Okay. Now you see only ID is getting printed 1, 2, 3, because I'm printing ID of that particular, IDs of all the um, objects which is part of the array. Similarly, if I want name also, I can give another curly braces, give item dot name, right? Name also, right? ID name and so on. So if I want marks, I can give marks. Okay. So this is how we can retrieve the elements of array which contains objects and display on the screen, right? This is very useful because we will be using, because predominantly in react.js we would be accessing apis and calling apis and displaying it or manipulating it, and all those apis will be coming in this fashion only. So it will be, all those APIs will be having objects like this, which we'll have to loop through and perform operation. Okay. So this is about map function, which we can use, which will straight away loop through each and every item and it will print. Now let's say I don't want to display everything. I want to display only those records where marks is greater than 50. Okay, so that means I want to filter out this array. So for that, I have to use an array function called filter. So let me create another array here. Let's say filtered, um, filtered array. Okay, filtered array, and then I want to filter it using a filter method. Give a variable a, let's say, and then return a dot. If a dot marks is greater than 50, then it is going to return all the elements and store in the new array called filtered array. Okay, filtered ARR I can mention. Got it. So if it is, so initially the array was having all the elements. Now we have created another array called filtered array. In this array, only those records will be there where marks is greater than 50. So this is a new array, right? Now similarly, if I want to print this new array, instead of giving here array.arr.map, just give filter.map filter. Sorry, just give filter array dot map. So now what will happen? It is printing only those records where the marks greater than 50. Right? So that is what the use of this filter function, which we can apply in an array. Right? So this would be used if we want to search something in a particular API or search something in a set of records. We can use filter and then give a condition here, whatever we want to give. Right? If I want to search for a name, so I can give a dot name equals, I can give John. Now it is going to display um, wait, John. So it is going to display only that record where name is equal to John. Right? So that is the advantage of using filter. We can filter out rows from an array based on a condition. Okay. Next method is find. That means if we want to, so filter and map, all these are returning a set of values, right? What if you want to access only one value? Always you want to access only one value. So filter can have more than one. So for that, what we do, instead of using filter, we can use find. What will happen? This will always return, um, you know, one value. So I can search for, let's say I can search for ID uh, equals 1. Okay. So it will search for only that record where ID is equal 1, which is John, and which is John, right? So now while displaying, since it will return only one row, we don't have to use, all this looping and all that. Correct? Straight away, what I can do, I can simply print filtered array dot ID. See, I'm getting an ID here. Because this filtered array is an array which will always have one row only. Correct? So because it has one row, we don't have to use map and all that. Straight away print this particular ID. This again we can use while calling API, and while passing a parameter to an API. This function would be useful. Okay, so that's pretty much about filter, map, and find function that we can use along with an array of objects to display relevant information into our React.js page. All right. So please go through this and let me know in case you have any questions. Thank you.